So welcome
Thank you for having me.
for the second time.
Part two.
Part two, you were on the first season. So if you guys haven't watched it, I highly recommend. Back then we were talking about the dance between masculine and feminine energy. And I would love to start by asking you, who is Miles KROL? Because we have Miles with us today. Who is Miles KROL in the present moment?
Who is Miles KROL in the present moment? Well, the first thing that comes up for me is that I'm an ecosystem of different parts and pieces, that I'm not singularly one thing. But in this moment, I would say that I'm someone who is more connected into themselves as compared to before, and someone who is more certain in themselves than ever before with how I approach life, what I do, what I don't do. And this is something that for parts of me is very different in this moment in time, because you asked about the present moment, because the version of me 1 week ago, just 1 week ago, was a different version, and particularly 5-10 years ago.
Yes, thank you. And so would you like to share maybe the big pivoting moment of, I was about to say your life, but it's going to be a little long, but let's say the past maybe 5 years to get you where you are right now. And maybe you can start by sharing with people what you do right now with your gift, how you're using your gift in your day-to-day, but also you build your work around your gift. So what you do is very unusual and very unique to you. So maybe we can start with that.
Yeah, so these days, what I focus on first and foremost is the gift of my inner voice, and really hearing that voice loudly and clearly, and not trying to manipulate it in any way, just accepting it as it comes through. And the way that that gift unfolds in the work that I do with people, and what I essentially do is various forms of intuitive coaching, whether it's working with the person's being and repeating patterns of energy and blockages that we're trying to transmute, or whether it's with their body and listening to the innate wisdom of their body and what their body needs to align physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, or with their business, what they need to connect into to be able to acquire more clients, grow, scale, have more impact. All of these three forms of intuitive coaching that I do stem from that inner voice, holding the space for that voice to come through in the presence of another person. And when I think back to my old days when I was doing personal training, because I used to have a private personal training studio in Montreal, that voice would come through, but my approach was more mechanical. It was less about intuition and an inner compass, and it was more about goals and objectives and trying to make things happen for people versus creating a space for a higher consciousness to come through both me and them, and to co-create something for their higher purpose and for their development.
And when you say inner voice, is it the same for you, inner voice and intuition, or is it different?
That's a great question. So for me, the way I experience it, I feel and hear predominantly one consciousness within me. I don't try to isolate, is this my higher self? Is this an ancestor or a guide? Sometimes there are intuitive nudges that clearly come from a specific place, but generally speaking, it's just one summarized and poignant voice that speaks to me, and that's the voice that I follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought that in the past. You like kind of hide it and it was more cognitive with people.
Yes.
So what would you say is the biggest difference for your client that comes to see you in the present moment to have access to that inner voice?
Well, the biggest thing that I notice with allowing words to be spoken through me as the vessel in somebody's presence is that it's not necessarily only my higher self coming through for them. It's a co-creation where their higher self and their own intuition is being spoken through me as a vessel. So before, I would tell people things that would come from me. Now, things are spoken through me from them to themselves. And it's a very different frequency and vibration. And the people know that what they're hearing, because I can see it in their eyes when I'm speaking to them, they know that this is not even me who's speaking and that this is coming from somewhere else.
And so to receive that, how is it different for them? Like the impact that it has for them?
Cognitively, they receive it in one way, and a lot of people can be confused by new consciousness or information coming into their world that they weren't cognitively aware of, but I can feel their bodies, and I can feel their energy when the words are coming through, and things are shape-shifting in them. Some people are more attuned to their body. Like I've done sessions before where someone said, like, my whole body started vibrating. And it was a new experience for them because something beyond their literal, linear, and logical minds was present, and it was speaking to them at a cellular level and an energetic level. And what I've noticed is that real change emanates and stems from this subtle energetic level, and then it moves up and we experience things physically. But in our world, the way we operate mechanically, we're trying to change all these mechanical things, but mechanical things are symptoms of energetic things. So these sessions that I do with people, we're connecting into the energy and working our way up, kind of like growing a tree, going from the roots to the trunk, the branches, and then ultimately, not just the leaves, but the fruits that come from the tree are these sweet elements of new consciousness that they can literally take a bite into and bring into their body to embody, and then walk with that as part of them.
I love that. And while you were talking, I had an idea that came in, and I'm going to try to articulate it because it's something new that I'm seeing. I've been told once, and I loved it so much, that when we speak to someone, we're actually speaking to ourselves. So if you think about that, think about the last conversation you had when you gave such great advice to someone. It was actually for you. And sometimes I hear myself out loud, I'm like, damn, this is good. And I try to take notes for myself, but it's actually for me, you know? And, you know, I did coaching. And when you do coaching, it's like you don't give advice, but you ask questions that comes from you to the person. And if you think about when you give advice to someone, it's advice that comes from your perspective, your background, with your emotions, your patterns and everything, right? That you will provide for the person. So they're the best advice for you, not for the person. And what I'm seeing when we tap into someone's soul and we co-create with them, then we receive, as you said, they're teaching us what to say.
Yes.
Right? So for me, it's so different the way it lands for the person because it's not Marie-Ève with my perception and my wounds and what I'm going through that I'm sharing through my message. It's really their energy that comes through me and pass through me and that I can share to them, right? So it's very different how I see energetically for them to receive. It's like this loop of energy that comes out of them to go in us that goes back into them. A little like you said with the fruit and then they eat it, you know? So it comes back. And so the energy is very different to receive because it's already calibrated to their frequency.
100%. I mean, that resonates with me deeply. And as I was experiencing my version of the words you were speaking, that's exactly how the process transpires. And when we are giving advice, what essentially we're trying to do is own something that we're putting in someone else's presence. But when we're just holding the space to be the vessel for words that need to be spoken through us for them, it's a totally different experience. And 3 things that I don't necessarily say to myself consciously before every session, but that I've ingrained within my body, mind, spirit complex that help me be present fully in the session are 3 elements. 1, let the higher purpose be served, whatever that is, for better or for worse. Number 2, return me to innocence, in essence, childlike play and curiosity. And number 3, invite in surprises. Because what comes through, as you were alluding to before, it's like, wow, what's this? That's interesting. Whether it's for self or another or for both. Every session I'm surprised. I learn something all the time, and I get to be surprised by other people's surprises as well. And it's this whole spiral of surprises. Like, where's this all coming from? And it's just pure magic, fundamentally.
Yeah, it's like doom, 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 doom.
Exactly. And it builds.
Passing the ball.
Exactly. And that's why it's really co-creation. Even some people who might not feel fully present in a session, they're co-creating. Because it's not just mechanical co-creation. It's beyond the physical body. Even, you know how they say most of communication is nonverbal. Cadence, tonality, vocabulary, mannerisms. But nobody talks about energy. But all of that is happening in the background, unbeknownst to the conscious mind.
Yeah, and that's what we tap into when we connect with someone.
Exactly. Yeah,
They can show us something, but for me, the first thing I do when I do session is I ask the soul to show me an image that represents like a metaphor of where the person is really at. And for me, it's I'm not surprised anymore where you see this person coming and like having this mask of joy. Hi, being a little bubbly, and then you connect and you see that person at the bottom of a spiral of despair, and there's so much sadness, and then I express that, and the person, like all their masks, they just fall, and they're like, this is exactly how I feel, and then you know the emotions are allowed to be seen and to be feel.
Yeah, and as you say that, what comes up for me is ultimately to be able to put the masks down, because it takes a lot of energy to hold a mask. If you're holding something, even if it weighs, you know, half a pound, if you're holding it all the time, you're going to have fatigue in your system. But for someone to really feel a safe space where they can be vulnerable, to be able to let the mask down, to let these aspects of self bubble up to the top, to be able to be addressed in the presence of another person, that's the beauty of pure intuitive coaching and pure intuitive presence. It just allows that frequency and vibration of transmutation to take place. Because when we're holding stuff, we're not trying to change anything. We're gripping onto it as a survival mechanism.
Yeah, the mask become a shield.
Yeah, that's actually a great metaphor. A mask is equally a shield. You can also hit someone with it, so it's also a sword. Fight, flight, freeze.
Sure. Okay, I love it.
Everything is a weapon. Come on, guys.
I love it. Okay, so this is kind of new for you, what you're doing now, right?
Newer, yes.
Newer.
Yes.
In a sense of it was not always that. And now my understanding is that you're really doing that full time with clients that sign up with you for a whole year or 3 months. So you're really, for me, investing your energy, time, and heart in that.
Yes.
Because you feel it's very aligned with your mission.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But it was not always that. So I would love to know, like, what was there before for you? Like what I said, maybe share the milestone of the past, maybe 5 years, or, you know, the past, what feels good for you to share. Like maybe a few, so we can do les petits sauts avec toi.
I'll do some jumps from the beginning of my fitness business, which started in 2012. So that's 13 years ago from today when we're doing the podcast. When I started my fitness business, it was really all about goals and objectives and making things happen. And I was being guided and directed by forces of my ego to prove my worth in creating something. So that was the primary energy that was moving me along that I wasn't aware of. I was just trying to make things happen. That started to shift as I started to work with more and more people, because as I started to hear people's stories and connect more into people, I could feel not that my heart was closed, but my heart started to open more to see how everybody has their version of suffering. Because yes, people would come in for weight loss or to improve their posture or build muscle, but it would always boil down to one or more things in their life they weren't content with. So as I confronted more and more of that, which was just a byproduct of time in the industry as a trainer, I started to really love people at a deeper level and really had a passion to see people thrive. So the longer I did personal training, it went from more mechanical to more heart-oriented. And then eventually my intuition started to kick in more, but I was ignoring my intuition. So it would come through And part of me would believe it, part of me wouldn't believe it, and I would dismiss it.
Did you know at that time that it was intuition? Were you aware of that concept?
I was definitely aware of that concept, but I was referring to it more as my kind of inner knowing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny to refer to it as an inner knowing, but ignore it. But what I realized was part of connecting into our intuition is actually witnessing it and dismissing it. That's part of the dance of climbing the ladder of deeply connecting into and trusting our intuition with conviction. So step one is to be totally oblivious. So if anybody is listening to this and they're like, I don't hear any inner voice or nothing's coming through, it's there, we just don't hear it. Just like you have a dog whistle that you blow, the dogs hear it, we don't hear it. There's different frequency and vibrations of energy, and eventually when we start to shift, we start to connect into it. So that's step one. And then step two is you hear this thing, you don't fully trust it, especially because it's new, and you dismiss it. And what I saw was when I did that about 100 times, because it wasn't once or twice, I was like, maybe I should give this thing a shot and actually follow it. And as soon as I started to give it a shot, that's when I noticed it not only started to amplify more, but more and more magic started to show up as a result of trusting the inner voice. So that was like step three. Once I connected into that, it became very clear to me, I knew it in 2016, 4 years into my business, that I would not be in the fitness industry as a personal trainer with a physical location for my life. That was part of my journey then, but I always knew there would be a spiritual trajectory of some kind. Spiritual is a vague word, but I knew that it would be a trajectory in the world of the unseen, rooted in metaphysics and concepts beyond the linear mind. I just knew that. I always knew that. But I had to go on this journey of suppressing my intuition to ignite my intuition. And I realized how sacred and beautiful it was to actually deceive self and experience the consequences of not following one's own innate and inner wisdom. So that was part of the journey. And then at one point, the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, this was the universe coming to my doorstep to help me reconfigure the trajectory of my life. That's my experience of it. Everybody had their own different experience of the pandemic, but it forced me to slow down because I was going a million miles an hour and the intuition was coming through, but I could tell it wasn't being applied in the right domain for my soul. So the pandemic came through, and at one point I decided it would be time to move on from my business. I woke up one day, I knew it definitively and unequivocally, and I was able to make arrangements to successfully exit my business and move on from that, and then step into the next chapter, which...
I want to ask, because I think it's very important for people to hear that.
Yeah.
How did you know?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question. So to answer that question, I'm going to say one thing first and follow it up with something else. In 2016, I went through some challenges in my business, and parts of me wanted to get out of my business. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. There was a convergence of things. But even though mentally and cognitively I wanted to get out of my business, my body was telling me no. And I had this tug of war between my mind that wanted out and my body and my soul saying, no, you have to keep going. And it was very hard for me to process that, but somehow I knew to listen to the inner voice. It was just ingrained in me. So that experience there started to plant a seed of connecting more to my body's wisdom. And then to answer your question, how did I know? Well, along the way, I checked in many times, and every time it was like, keep going when it was tough. But one day I just woke up and I knew. And that moment reminded me, you don't have to do anything. When it's time, I call it divine timing, you will know. So you can go from one evening not knowing to the next morning waking up knowing. It's kind of like when you were growing up and people would talk about love and someone would say, how do you know if you're in love? And your parents would say, you just know. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. You don't try to know. You don't force knowing. Knowing finds you. And when it's there, and I have goosebumps right now, you don't even have to think. There's no decision to be made. It's already been made for you.
And there's no explanation. For me, this is the big thing for people that ask, how do I know if it's intuition or if it's fear-based, right? Because if you've been, having your company and you're like, I'm not sure, and you're stuck into this like fear all the time of not having money, your employees, and da 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 da, and then you're like, I want to go out, but I don't know if I can, and so this is based on scarcity, and that could happen. But when you as you say, it's like I don't know why it brings me back to when I was at the hospital and after the seventh surgery, when everything was supposed to be okay. The doctor is like, okay, well, it didn't work, so we need to recut, and there was this calmness inside of me, and I was like, no, that's enough. And it was not based on fear, it was just so anchored, and I feel it's something like that. It's the energy that I'm sensing that happened to you. So for people that are listening, if you're in this space, what type of work that you're doing, and you're like, I don't feel maybe happy in there or fulfilled, you'll know when it's the time, as you said, like there's this calmness and there's no fear anymore because you know it's just the only way possible, and there's this confidence, right, that is there, and that you just know that everything will be okay. Is that how it felt for you?
Yeah, when you connect and intersect with true knowing, it's not a polarized energy. There's no positive, there's no negative, and therefore there is no thinking, proving, defending, competing, comparing. It just is purely anchored within you to the point where you're so calm in making a decision. Now, these moments of knowing at that level don't happen all the time, but when they happen, it's usually around big things in one's life. And when you follow that wisdom, I mean, your life will change completely because it really is divine wisdom. And I also believe it's linked into what I call divine timing, that there is a time and a place where you will intersect with a soul point, and this is where your life will change.
Which means that it's not because you want things to change that it's time for them to change. I had so many people, they're like, I don't know how you do it. I ask question and I don't receive answer. I'm like, it's the same for me, because sometimes it's not the time to receive an answer.
This is so well said. And all the time in between where we are in the present moment and that divine moment, us trying to figure things out, is self-induced suffering.
It's true.
We can just connect to what might align with our preferences and desires and or surrender and let it show up when it shows up. But because human beings have such a high need for control and certainty, which is an innate survival mechanism, to know where I stand in 3D space, am I safe? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to see the next day? That ingrained energy causes us to try to own reality and make things a certain way for our safety and security. But it's counterproductive and paradoxical, because the more we try to own something, the more it owns us and the more we suffer. But if we can learn to surrender and just let the energy flow, the divine timing will show up when it shows up. And then we can have fun in between. I think sometimes we forget that life is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
And it becomes a chore, a have to do versus a get to do. I get to open my eyes in the morning and be in this realm where I can create and co-create and collaborate and cooperate with other people to bring amazing things into existence from the world of the unseen, and play and have fun with it. And the more you play and have fun, the more the creative energy flows. But in our need for certainty, we shut so much of that down and cause so much internal stress. And most people who are probably watching this have their version of suffering. We all suffer in some capacity: relationships, finances, career, goals, objectives, etc. And there's beauty in suffering, but if we can get beyond that, we can connect to play and magic, our inner voice, and literally watch in front of our eyes a whole new world emerge that's completely different and full of magic.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
You taught me what to say.
Or they did.
You guys did. Actually, we're all co-creating here. You guys watching, it's a triangle right now, the Holy Trinity. Audience, Marie-Ève and Miles.
Okay, so next jump.
Next jump.
Where does it brings us?
So after I moved on from my fitness business, I took all the suffering of trying to make this thing work, from marketing and branding to automation systems, operations, all that mechanical cognitive stuff, and I started doing what I called intuitive business coaching and consulting. So taking my intuition and my gifts in that domain, plus the mechanical experience of having built my business from just myself to 30 people and from 1,000 square feet to 4,500 square feet and impacting people, taking all of that and helping other business owners transcend their challenges, having their higher selves speak through me to them about their challenges in their business that they need help with. So that was my in-between phase from the fitness to the pure kind of intuitive coaching that I do now. There needed to be something in between to bridge that future point in time.
May I share something that you told me? I think you won't mind. And if you do, I'll cut it. But
Sure.
I really don't think you'll mind. At that time, just before you really started to go in there, I remember we had a discussion about the top 3 things that brings us the most joy and the most excitement in life. Do you remember?
I do.
Yeah,
I
so
do.
you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, I shared what was mine, and it's really related 100% at the type of work I'm doing in the present moment. And yours, like, you name me your 3 top things that you like the most, even I think your 10s, and I'm like, but your work is not in there. And you were like, huh. Yeah, but, you know, it's in the top 5. So I'm like, yeah, but you said it needs to be in the top 3. You know, I challenged you a little, and you were like, yeah. And, you know, you and I did that too, you know. When I did coaching, it was that. It was not the top 5, but there was aspect of it that I really loved, but it was not it. So why I'm sharing that is that there's all those transitions, there's all those things that you might want to try, and it might not be it, but it will bring you tools and knowledge and aspect of what you want, what you don't want, to bring you to the it, right?
Absolutely. And as one looks back, you can easily connect the dots when you finally reach a destination of coherence, when you're in that energy of the top 3 things that light up your soul. And for me, it's what I call a bridge point. It's a point in between where you were and where you're going that needs to take place for reasons known and unknown, but very often to acquire certain tools and experiences and sometimes embodiment of certain things to then get to this other point where you're ready for it. So I'll give a great example. Let's just say in 18 months, we knew in advance that that was the exact moment that you would birth some new aspect in your business. But if you try to do that now, it won't work at all because it's not the right time. But the reason it's in 18 months and not now is because you have to become a certain kind of person and have certain experiences and tap into certain things and meet certain people. And then when that sacred geometry and scaffolding is built for your soul, that's when the portal opens and that's when the point emerges and it's the right time. So one of the lessons I learned was you can have the right thing, wrong time. And sometimes you have to do the wrong thing to get to the right time. And that's the dance, to your point.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Was it the last jump for you?
So after the business coaching and consulting, during that phase, I was unwinding a lot of energy from my past. And one of the reasons, and this is a great thing to share with the audience, because it really changed my life, it was a game changer. I knew where I was going, but I still could not get there. And it was because I had a lot of energy from my past business, my fitness business, that I needed to unwind. So while I was doing the intuitive business coaching and consulting, it gave me the space to chip away at all the old stuff. And what happened eventually was the more and more stuff I would chip away from my past, the more and more space I created in my energy, and the more the external world around me started to change in alignment with that big jump, which is where I'm at now. And then finally, here we are at the beginning of September, as I've kind of chopped, so to speak, some of the final elements of my past, and I've literally witnessed in 3 days how my life went from 10 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour, 10x, in 3 days. And that's because and I see it as a metaphor of a hot air balloon, all of the ropes and anchors have started to be cut. And now this balloon, for the first time, is fully free to go in any direction, anywhere, explore anything and see anything. And what's unique about a hot air balloon, you're high up and you can look down and you can just see everything. It's a very unique vantage point. So I was kind of this hot air balloon that was kind of tethered to old stories and old energy and chopping away at things. And then the more I went along my journey, that final jump took place when I cut the rope and was able to settle into what I do now, which is pure intuitive coaching and essentially just being the vessel for other people to use me to help themselves transcend their own problems. I just show up and then magic happens.
Mm-hmm. Yay! I love it. And if I may, we've known each other for a year and a half now? Almost 2 years?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
So I've seen you going through that process, you know, and I've seen how it affected different aspects of your life because it's all related, right? So if there's things from your life, like family or friends or love, that are more difficult, it will impact your work, and your work will impact your friends and in your vitality and your energy, and you know, so all of that is linked. And I've seen around you that's like we contract and we expand, you know, and I've seen that for myself too. So there's periods of contraction where everything looks like it's not a shit show, but it's like really not working like you want it to be. And then one of the beautiful thing I see in you is you always had hope that everything will turn out okay. And I think this is where, you know, when you let go, it creates space for things to move, breathe, and like create this space around you where you go back into your energy, you go back into your frequency, and then you know, like the inner voice, the intuition can come back. As you were speaking, like depending of your frequency, if your frequency of I'm not thinking about you, but in general, is it scarcity or scarcity?
Both. You can actually say both, but most people say scarcity.
So scarcity, you are not in a space to listen to your intuition, right? So you do need to find a way to go back into your own energy, not old energy, to be able to tap into that. And I saw you do that, and everything just moved so quickly, as you said. It was so quick, right?
Absolutely. As you're saying that, what's coming up for me, the only thing that's ever held me as a gravity in my reality to not give up through the challenges that I've been through, or to work through the energy of different blockages and repeating patterns, was this inner voice within me and this vision that I've always carried in my soul from when I was a child. And I feel very blessed and fortunate to have this energy that comes through me, that speaks to me, and the vision that I hold, because through everything I've been through, I always have known that things would work out. It was just a knowing, but it was so hard in the presence of that knowing to go through different challenges, and that was the test. Conviction needs to be tested for it to be true conviction. Because if you just believe it's going to happen and it's all sunshine and rainbows, that's not the essence of conviction. Courage. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you're afraid and you take action. Conviction means a part of you is scared and things might not work out, but you still find the belief in the presence of those fears. So a lot of people, what I've seen, it's very hard to connect into a vision. But one thing that can really help people is to, ask themselves what their vision is for their life. Most people don't know. Most people don't ask themselves that question. We're just as the expression goes, like a cog in the wheel. We're on the merry-go-round, Groundhog Day. This loop, loop, loop. And we forget that we're creators and that we can stop and pause and look at reality differently and ask questions and have dreams and have visions and connect into that. And it gives us a certain strength to make it through that stuff. But The challenges were, now looking back, so important with my growth, but it was really the vision that held it together. And there's a beautiful quote that is from the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who is a psychologist or psychiatrist in the Holocaust in Auschwitz. And it's, without a vision, people perish. And what he saw was the people who survived the Holocaust were people who were able to connect to some type of vision. Even if it was, when I get out of here, I'll make sure this never happens again, or it'll never happen to our children. Some purpose beyond self and some vision of a future, a compelling future, is what helps pull human beings through the darkest trenches of existence.
So for people who listen, if you're in a space where there's just this tiny ray, maybe of light, to find, like, as you said, like a vision or like a goal or something that can bring back this light in a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And what comes up for me when you say that, it's very hard for ourselves to do it ourselves. Human beings aren't meant to go on a journey by themselves. We can have our solo journeys, but after you go on your solo journey, you return to the town with all the people. Human beings are made to co-create. And when we're trying to ignite more of our light or find hope, the easiest place to find it is in the presence of other people. And we forget that. And we particularly forget that because we're scared to go with these aspects of self in the presence of another person. So we stay in our own bubble and we try to figure it out. But our freedom is really in the presence of another person. And this is why people hire therapists or coaches. They don't really know why they're doing it per se. They know they need help. But it's really about being able to express self openly and vulnerably in the presence of another. But because there's two, there's a co-creative energy that gets brought down. And then that energy is a third energetic point that blooms and blossoms something for both people who are present. And that's the magical energy that really evolves and emanates from two people coming together. So to bring things full circle to people who are trying to find that inner light, you really find it in the presence of another person. You need a contrast point. This is a world of duality, A and B. Just like you need a mirror to see yourself. Imagine there were no mirrors. How would you see yourself?
And the reflection of other people's eyes.
That's true. You have to squint and look very deeply. Yeah. And you might look a certain color, but yeah.
And for people that are like, well, I don't have that, if you go on the Dakini website, there's now the new website, and we have an event page, and we have in-person, c'est quoi un atelier? Not
Workshops.
Workshop? Is it workshop?
Yeah.
Like one day retreat and workshop around Quebec. So there's one practically every week because I sense the need for community, but real community, like community in person, not just on the internet.
Yeah, and it's beautiful that you have those offerings for people to find like-minded people who want to swim in the river of magic. And to be able to fully be with that energy and connect to those like-minded people and co-create in a group. When you're with like-minded people and you're in that frequency and vibration of energy, the downloads that you get are incredible. And there's real magic in the presence of other people. But right now, more than ever, community is what we need. We have separated ourselves into our own little ecosystems. And now what I'm witnessing from my vantage point and perspective is that we had to lose self to find self. That we had to separate, even though we were in communities, in little homes, and be on our own bubble with our own worlds and our own families. But now really there is a pull to find deep communities where we can really evolve. Not just people to kind of interact with on a superficial level or a mechanical level, but where can you go to have your soul speak and to feel like you're growing? And that's what you've created with Dakini, a magical experience for people to tap into these aspects of themselves, discover them if they don't know them, develop them, and then in that magic, bring their magic to the world, to their family, to their kids, communities, to their city.
And drop the mask.
and drop the mask. Drop the mask. Everything is always hidden behind the curtain. There's what we show to the world, and then there's what we hide from self and hide from the world. Some of it we know consciously, some of it we don't know. But when you can drop the mask or let the curtain fall, that's when the magic can begin.
Because you have both hands.
You have both hands, exactly. And with both hands, you can do cartwheels. You can do martial arts, you can do anything. But yeah, you know, holding on to stuff really limits us. And the analogy I often use with the people I work with, it always comes through. If you have your hands in the pickle jar and you're holding on, you cannot take your hand out. But as soon as you let go, you can remove your hand. So it's holding on to stuff that keeps us in our own self-induced prison. But nothing's causing us to hold on to the pickles. We're doing that. So when we can let go, we can free ourselves. And I always say that every prison of self also comes with a key. There's no prison that doesn't come without a key. It's our job to find what that key is, to open our own prison, to free ourselves. Because nobody's going to free us. Nobody's coming to save us. And a lot of us have fantasies that someone's going to do something for us or something's going to happen. And yes, sometimes those things really do unfold, but freedom comes from within. Salvation comes from within. Freeing oneself from our own self-induced prisons is an inside job.
We have a reel here.
We have a reel here. A real reel.
Okay, I want to ask you one last question. Maybe two last questions, but this is going to be one of the last. So in society, and I've seen it for myself, we value people through what they have and the amount of money. I've seen that a lot, you know. So when we talk about having a job and the work we do, usually it's related to money. And we forget that it's also related to how many people we can reach, the impact that we have, the freedom that it brings us, the joy, you know, the connection, the contact. So I would love to know, with all of these, being, you know, really fully aligned with your mission, with your divine mission, with your inner voice, and with the work that you do in the present moment, in all of those aspects, would you like to share a few where things changed for you by fully connecting to that?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, it's how did connecting to kind of my inner gifts and inner knowing change some of my, is it my results with these areas? So I feel very often we are not living our lives for ourselves, we're living our lives for other people, meaning we are symptoms of the beliefs of society. So to go back to your point about money, most people, because money is the underpinning energy of society, will make a lot of their decisions based on finances, because that determines whether you're safe and secure, where you live, the food you put on your plate, how you take care of your kids. So it's built into society from the get-go to be in a survival energy and be attached to financial outcomes. And while it's necessary, if you want to live in society, you have to play the game, the money game. If you want to live in the woods and be off the grid, that's a whole other thing, and people talk about it, but not everybody does it. When I was building my business, I was partially motivated by money, but I was still motivated from within, helping people and following this inner guidance of building something that could help more people. And now, I don't even think about money at all. It's not even part of my consciousness. Every day when I wake up, what comes to me and through me is a voice that needs to be seen, heard, received, and listened to, respected and honored, and vesseled. The rest are all details. I've witnessed and experienced that inner compass, when you follow it, everything else falls into place. You don't even need to think about anything else. That's how powerful it is. So I've really been conditioning myself, painfully so, not easy, to not only listen to the voice, to listen is one thing, but how to take action, conscious action, from this inner knowing. So as I've done that, all areas of my life have started to shapeshift, and not necessarily shapeshift and are perfect, but I can see the energy rather, in all of these areas starting to change, and new possibilities that could be, whether it's with family, relationships, career, money, impact, mission, vision, all of this stuff as a result of this one thing keep changing and evolving in a way that surprises me. I'm surprised all the time. I'm never like, oh yeah, of course. It's like, wow, didn't see that coming. Or even if I saw it coming, it's like, I can't believe it. I'm in a state of awe all the time. I don't know if that fully answered your question.
Yes and no. Because
Okay.
I would love for people to have specific example, and I have one that you shared yesterday about list.
Ah, yes. Okay. I'm so happy you're bringing this up.
Yeah.
So I was somebody who was obsessed with to-do lists. When I was in my business, I called it the never-ending to-do list. No matter how many things I crossed off, this thing just kept growing. It was its own entity. And for the first time in my life, I am proud to say that I no longer have a to-do list, because I have cut away so much from my life, all this excess stuff that we think we need, not just material objects, but non-material energy that we're holding in our consciousness. Just severing all of that and creating space allowed me to not have a to-do list. And the way I operate right now is, if I can't carry it in my conscious mind, then it's too much. And I'm not saying that's the right way to do things. I'm saying that's what resonates for me personally in this moment in time, subject to change, of course. But you feel very light when you don't have this list following you everywhere. And then I also have a list that's called the not to do list that I haven't written down, but the not to do list helps me not have a physical to do list. And basically the not to do list is rooted in, if it doesn't fully resonate with my soul and is a full body yes, then I don't do it. So I'll give you an example in the coaching that I do to tie it into something more mechanical. I don't do single sessions with people. And it's not that that's the right approach to do it. What I've learned is the type of people who come to find me for intuitive coaching are people who want to go on a journey of transformation. And I want to invite in people who are looking for a journey, not for an attempted quick fix or a temporary band-aid. I'm looking to go deep. And the people who are called to go deep and called for that journey, we go on journeys, whether it's 3 months or 12 months. And also, what I experience doing this work, when someone comes into my world, they're in my field and I'm in their field, beyond just the sessions. Their energy is with me in my dreams, in my waking consciousness. They walk with me and I walk with them. And that's very sacred. And it's one of those things where the right people have to be part of that sphere. They're connected into my guides and my higher self and all of my support, and I'm connected into theirs. That's the energetic invitation I create for people. And that's why, for example, I don't do single sessions. So on my not to do list, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And allow ourselves to, again, not to be in scarcity of, oh, but I don't know if I'm going to have clients. If I do this, I might lose money, or and just be aligned with what feels good.
Yes, and as you say that, because I can feel people who are watching the video right now, it's so hard to just align to that. That's the truth. And this is why community is so important, and why what you've created with Dakini is so wonderful. Because we all need training wheels for our soul. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Oh, I love that.
And the training wheels on the bike really come from the presence of other people who lift us up. And eventually, when enough of these wheels around us, these beautiful souls, lift us up enough, we are ready to take off the training wheels of the bike and give it a go on our own, and trust self more, and listen to our vision more and our dreams more. But even in my challenges, I wasn't alone. I worked with coaches and guides my whole life, and I still do. I've done hundreds of one-on-one sessions. Probably if you added up across the board, all the people I've worked with, I wouldn't be surprised if I've done like 250 one-on-one sessions for me being coached. And I just knew it was something I needed to do for my soul. But if I remove that from the equation, there's no way I could have made it through what I went through on my own. And there's no way I could have created what I created without the support of others. So we often forget that other people are a necessary part of the equation to uplift us and help us believe ourselves.
Well put. And that's why Dakini I started on my own, but I stayed on my own, I think, for 3 months. And then Veronica came 5 hours a week. Now she's full time. And now there's 3 more people that have came in. And I have Alexina as a coach for the business. And I have Marilou for my nervous system. And I want all of that to feel healthy and balanced, you know?
Absolutely. There's an expression, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And from another vantage point, it takes an entourage, it takes a group of people, it takes a community to help you birth what's within you. Your child,
Yeah.
your business, your impact to the world. And we are moving towards this slowly but surely. I see it. We are realizing that cooperation, co-creation, and collaboration is the path, that we work as a unit. And when we do, we can put a man on the moon. It took a whole team to do that, but we can transcend space and time and achieve things beyond our wildest dreams. It's hard for parts of us to believe that because we think linearly and logically, but magic is all around us and we can tap into it, particularly with a group of people, like in Dakini.
And I sense such a big belief that I've never seen is that if you achieve your goal alone, then you have more success. It's like more impressive. I've done it by myself. I was alone. You know, I did that. You know, there's something with society about like a lot like c'est très individualiste. Where I think we're really switching. I see it for myself and around me. It's not about competition anymore. It's about how can we like cooperate and build together and play together and bring your strength, my strength, and like just, you know, multiply. So if you do have that belief, this is a limiting belief, just so you know. And it's not true.
We all want to be seen, heard, and recognized, and getting to the top of the mountain by ourselves allows us to scream from the top of the mountain, look at me, like you're saying. And it's a much more arduous path to go it alone. And very often people that go it alone, that live to tell the tale, so to speak, metaphorically, eventually realize that it's easier to do with other people, and that other people bring their unique gifts and talents. And then what's interesting, you have your gifts and talents, they have their gifts and talents, and now here's the even more magical part. Your gifts and talents and their gifts and talents combine to create another energetic package of gifts and talents beyond both your gifts and talents. And this is the magic of co-creation, where 2 is exponential and becomes 4, and then 8, and then 16, and 32, 64, 128, so on and so forth, to infinity and beyond.
And let's be honest, okay? If I go with like, imagine you're like, I'm gonna get on top of that mountain, and you have your little flag, and you're like, whoo! And like after years, you're up there, and you're like, woohoo! But there's no one to celebrate you and see you. You're just alone. What's the point of that? I'd rather be there with all my friends, and we're like, we did it, you know, as opposed to, look, but there's no one to look, you're alone. What's the fun?
Yeah, it's the ego trap. We follow the ego trap, and then we realize at the top of the mountain, it's an emptiness in our soul. And then we have to climb back down the mountain and learn the lesson the hard way. And then maybe have the wisdom and the consciousness to climb a different mountain with a community.
I'm writing notes in my mind for Dakini Incarnation because everything is being rebranded right now, and I'm like, this is so good.
Well, I'm glad that you're teaching yourself
Yes.
what you need to do. I'm basically a to-do list prism. Consciousness comes through me for your list for your program.
Thanks. Okay, so do you have a question for me? With let's reverse the role for the last question regarding everything that we just talked about. Is there something that, or you know about me that you think people should know, or that you would love to know?
What comes up for me in this moment is as we were talking earlier before the podcast about Dakini, I would love for you to share what your vision is for Dakini if you're open to sharing it.
Yeah, it's changing a lot. Like the energy of Dakini in the past month has been so big that I was not able to handle it on my own. And that's why, like, Michael is coming for DAKA, which is the masculine branch, and Tatiana is doing the events, and Shari is doing the marketing, and Alexina is helping me with the coaching, and Marilou is helping me with my nervous system, because I realized my nervous system was not able to support all of that. So now that all of that has been distributed, now I can have a clearer vision, because it was not possible at that moment. So what I see for Dakini is I really see something worldwide where Quebec is like the hub to test, and I want to have like the Dakini land where people can come, and I'm seeing, like, I shared that with you yesterday, but those, house, like bubble house, like all with glass in nature, and people can come like a month to really get imprinted in that energy of community, and like really finding and seeking who they truly are in this magical space. I see a lot of children also. Children are so important. And there's really something also for me about motherhood. I feel a lot of anger towards how mothers are treated in the health system. And anger is such a beautiful engine to build things.
It's a good word.
Yes.
I love it.
So there's definitely something towards women and children as well for Dakini. Yeah, and everything is moving. So right now it's like, it hasn't settled yet, so it's hard for me. But what I say is the vision is really worldwide, in the sense of I want to try something in Quebec and see how we can impact as like hundreds of thousands of people, to reconnect them to their sovereignty, to their intuition, to what they really want to do from a place of true want and desire, and to prove to them that it's possible. I did it, you did it. Anyone can do it if you have the right team.
Yes.
So that's what I'm providing right now, is that team for people that really want to change the world with us.
And she's doing a great job. If you haven't checked out Dakini, make sure to check it out, because this is on another level. This is something that's being birthed and created through her that is more than a mission, it's a movement. And yeah, really proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am too. Yeah, it's really getting like this.
It's going to the moon and beyond this galaxy.
Oh, yeah. Is there anything else you would like to share before we finish?
I feel complete with everything, and I just want to close out and say thank you for having me on the podcast. And I know I learned a lot, and I hope that the audience extracted one or two things that their souls needed to hear. And I would say if you watched till the end of this podcast particularly, your soul was craving something completely new, and possibly a new journey might be emerging for you right now.
And I'm going to put in the description links to reach out to Miles. If you want to reach, what's the best way to...
The best way to find me right now is to go to my Instagram. My handle is one word, Miles KROL, MILESKROL. And there's right now a link in the bio that people can click to get the basic information about what I do and how to reach me.
Yeah, so if you guys want to work with him, you don't need to know, you just need to feel. So if you felt any type of emotion, openness, tingle while he was talking, you're like, oh, am I doing this? The answer is yes. Do that. And you can take 3 months or a year with Miles. I know you just have a few places because you only take 12 people per year.
Yes.
So if it's something that is tingling, I would highly, not advise you, but suggest that you jump, because this is a good sign that it's the next step for you. And if you want to ignite your gift and really tap into your soul divine mission in all aspects of your life, supported, as you said, by community. Even if you're like, I don't know where to start, it's perfect. It's fine. You can reach out to me and go to Dakini. And I would love, if you want to comment, what haha moment maybe came out for you during the discussion. If there was a thing you were like, oh my God, I didn't see that, or I would love, love, love to read you. And if you want to write to me, to Miles, we're always very, very happy to engage with you.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Everything she said, I agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful. And we'll see what the future holds for ourselves and for all of you.
Bye.
Ciao.